See, Parliament had moved in 1880 to put a 6% maximum interest rate, federal law, all across the country.
And all across Canada?
Yeah, all across Canada. And the appointed Senate, which is the ex-bankers club, they all went, no, you can't do that. That's crazy. But then in 1980, Canada, these like circus clowns running Parliament at the time, they made it criminal. And then they added it to the international racketeering things, because what they needed to do at the time was they had to get rid of the Small Loans Act that spelled it out. Interest in advance is like that. They made it criminal and said, we're going to deal with it by not prosecuting when the bank does it. Mm-hmm. See, so they put the hapless Mr. McRobb went to jail in Toronto because he had loaned $1,500 for 3 months for $2,000 due on the maturity date. So he received $500 worth of interest at 245% or 205% per annum. And so that was criminal, above 60%. Law's the law, he goes to jail. Meanwhile, the average payday loan in Canada today is and I'm being very conservative here, The important thing to know is that if you agree to pay the bank 12% per annum and make monthly payments, the bank is going to go determine the interest charges at 1% a month. And most people think that's the right thing to do or the right way to do it, but the bankers are in the business of knowing that it's not. And it's actually, see, it doesn't make any difference or it doesn't make much of a difference as long as the interest rate stated is really low. But if you're looking at the error in their methodology, it's exponential based. So that whatever the error is at 1% per annum, it's almost 1,000 times greater by the time you get to 30% per annum. We're just at the very tip of the iceberg when you're dealing with these between 1% and 30%. When you get up into the payday loan range, the actual rate of interest on an average or typical payday loan in Canada today and the United States and the UK is about 30,000% per annum. And say what they're disclosing is the logarithmic derivative of the interest rate and pretending that it is the interest rate. That's all it is. It's just a logarithmic derivative. So it's like, okay, if you got, say, 4 levels of monsters, you got a level 10, 100, 1,000, and 10,000. So you get exponents of 1 to 4. See? So you say that's a size 4 monster. Well, that means it's 10,000 times larger than a size 1 monster. That's a size 3 monster. Oh, that's 1,000 times bigger than a level 1 monster. And that's what they're doing to the interest rate. They're telling you the 1, 2, 3, 4, but the real rate is 1, 100, 1,000, 10,000%. You know, if you're at the point where you have to go to one of these payday loan companies and agree to, say, a $65 charge on a $400 nominal loan where you only get $335 today for $400 due in 14 days, okay, that's a little over 60,000% per annum. But, you know, if you're so in such financial straits that you have to take such a deal, you really don't have any choice anyways, and it's only going to aggravate you. It might even drive you further into depression if we have to tell you that it's really 60,000% per annum.
Yeah.
You know, so we're really doing you a favor by telling you it's only 300. And
oh boy,
maybe 250, something like that, something that's palatable. The last thing you want to be doing is being forced to inform, say, somebody in the military in the United States, a private who's just got a couple of kids at home, and he's there with his sidearm by his thing, and you're telling him you're charging him interest at 30,000% per annum. That's a pretty dangerous thing to do. But you see, the thing that you really got to get into your head is, what does it cost them to tell you that? And the answer is nothing save the ink on the paper. But there's no way they can tell you the truth. The same families that own the banks and the media have decided that we don't need to know that. It's on a need-to-know basis. And you know, the working poor in Canada, the United States, the UK, throughout Europe, there would be massive social unrest if these people realized they were being systematically looted using this nominal method and were being induced and practically compelled to borrow money. Because remember, most of this money is not even being used for consumption. It's being used to avoid penalties on other late bills. See, you've got, okay, and then they just come up with new names for everything. Like, for example, they call it, oh no, it's not a late payment penalty of $100 on a $300 electricity bill. We're going to pull the plug on you, and then you're going to have to pay us a reconnection fee. But it's not interest, it's not penalties, and it is all about building a sort of a lexicon in your mind of terms that don't mean what they're supposed to mean. You see, that's how they're controlling the inflation, is you got to keep raking it off. Otherwise, like I say, the Visa MasterCard system globally is raking off the US dollar equivalent of $2 billion a day in concealed credit charges. And they're turning around and saying, no, we've hidden those from you. They don't exist in your mind. You're getting a free loan. Keep running those purchases through our thing. Now, that $2 billion a day includes about 10% of that, or $200 million a day, is a direct rake off from the sales taxes and the VAT that is run through these accounts. So the banks are pocketing $200 million a day from the sales tax revenue of all the countries and this sort of thing. But anyways, the $2 billion a day, just from the credit ones, it's actually getting closer to $3 billion when you count all the debit card fees and all these other third-party cards and everything, not just Visa, MasterCard, but the department stores, the gas company cards, the retail cards, everything, specialty cards, cards. Because every time you use it, the bank's getting a rake off that you don't know about. And that's why it costs 1% to process a credit card transaction to pay for gasoline, but 6% at an expensive restaurant. You see, everything's adjusted to accommodate the maximum rake off that you can take depending on the price structure of a given commodity or service. Price margins for gasoline are very tight, so it costs them 2 cents to process the transaction, but they'll charge you 1% or 50 cents on a $50 charge. See? And you think, and for them, they're giving you, oh, that's the lowest rate we give to anybody. And we're only overcharging you by 2,500%. Costs us 2 cents, we charge you 50. See? Now, if you had your dinner at an expensive restaurant, well, that's a $500 voucher, and our processing fee is 6%. So we pocket $30 from that transaction. My design for a global financial exchange is called a superconducting financial exchange, because there are zero fees. No financial capacity is ever diminished by taking a fee for the transaction.
That makes my heart flutter. I love that.
Okay. Now, it's the easiest thing in the world. Zero fees. The superconducting financial exchange. No financial capacity is ever diminished by taking a fee for the transaction.